So what I'm going to be doing here is this is the drawing for the stamp that I'm going to get ready to make. So I'm just taking a piece of rebar, got it down at Menards. You can pretty much get it at any hardware store. Measuring it out, I was doing these at like 2.5 inches before, and just started realizing it was too short. Started cutting them at 3.5 inches, and it's pretty much the perfect size. Just using the standard hacksaw that you can get as well at any hardware store, and just go through the motions of cutting the rebar. I mean, you could get a chop saw that's electric or something that's going to make it faster, but I just do it with the hand tools that I have until I need to upgrade. This is kind of how I do everything. So now you're going to see this is the whole filing. I just file the flat of it, the top of it flat. And this does take a little while, so this is going to be it's going to be extremely sped up, so to speak, because this takes a little while when you're just using hand tools. Same thing with this, you could use like a belt sander or something, or something they use for like knives or whatever, and it would go much quicker. But like I said, I'm using what I have just because I don't want to spend the money right now. Get it flat, kind of draw out the way I want it to look on top, and when I do draw it out, the thing that I was doing in the beginning when I first started making them was I always thought that I had to stick to what I was doing, and that isn't the case. It's just there as a reference point, so keep that in mind. It's just a reference point, and that's exactly what it is. Once you get it closer to what you want it to be, you're going to be able to fine tune it, get it down to exactly what you need, the exact size that you're looking for. Because when I first started making some of the stamps, I was making them extremely too small or extremely too big, right? And so now I've kind of found that little sweet spot in between, and that's where we're at. So it does take a little bit of time to get used to it. So just keep in mind it's not perfect. Just don't overthink it, though. A lot of it, I was overthinking. A lot of it, people overthink. Just filing the back of it flat here because I wanted two little flatter points on the back once I put the round portion in the center of the back of it. Just still working it. Now I sand the top back down because I want to be able to see without the lines what kind of shape I have. And then I go back and start reshaping from there. And it takes quite a while. I think total time on this video was like 25 minutes originally. I think this one's like 10. So it does take a little bit of time to get what you want, but it was also a lot harder to do it while I was videoing because I didn't want to bump the camera. So this is where I'm going to cut the round part in the back. Just take it slow. Gotta kind of get it started. Can be a little tough in the beginning, but everything that I do it all by hand. So once you kind of get used to doing it by hand, it starts to go easier. You start to kind of know how you need to file it, what direction you need to file, the depth that you need to file it to. And I mean, all this stuff you're only going to find out if you're actually doing it. I mean, it's not a perfect process, and it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a unique thing. So, I mean, no stamps I make, even if I wanted to try to make the same kind of stamp, it's not going to be the same. It's just not going to look the same. It's going to be close, but it's not going to be the same after you stamp it. There's going to be little things that are going to be different. Even the stamps, as close as I can get them to maybe looking perfect, there's still certain things that are not symmetrical, right? That's a good way to put it. So this is a triangle file. This is what I'm going to cut the little grooves in the side with. Just a little small triangle file. I think I about got this one wore out as well. I need to get a couple more. But I got most of this stuff from either Harbor Freight or just a hardware store. But back to what I was saying about the stamps. When you're stamping, I mean, the whole point to me of making your own stamps is to have that unique shape or design that you're going to add to your jewelry. I do this because I make like traditional Navajo style jewelry, so, or Native American, however you want to put it. Some people get offended when I say Navajo, but I mean, essentially, that's kind of, I've watched quite a few. So, but it's just Native American type stamping. So, and this is just fine tuning. I go back several times and I just take away a little bit at a time, because you can take it away, you can't put it back. So always do less than more until you know where you're comfortable at doing, and then you can move up from there. So this was the triangle file as well. I just cut the center little strip. There's like just one little strip up the center a little ways. Just kind of taking a glance at it to see where it's at. That would have been pretty much good realistically, but I do go back and add some other stuff. You can see here I'm going to stamp it. For my preference, I didn't want to leave it just like this, even though I could have. So I added more details in the end here in a minute. But this is just showing you it's that, honestly, that quick. It realistically, it's done. That could have been a stamp just in itself, but I didn't like the way it looked for my preference of style. So I made it a little bit more of a point with the little file here, just taking some off the sides. I use the little file just because if you use the big file, it takes off so much more so quick. So it's easier to use the little file, even though it's a little more difficult. It's easier to use it because you don't take off as much when you're doing it. And it can kind of let you make those fine little adjustments throughout the process. And here it was, I was stamping it again just to see kind of where the point is at on it. And it's getting closer to what I want it to be. So I'm going to go, I don't know if I stamp another one or if I just go back to doing a little bit more filing because it's much closer to what I want it to be. And so this is the process, right? You're just going to keep doing these little processes and taking off a little bit at a time. And I tell you right now, the best thing you could ever do is go get some leather. Go to Hobby Lobby, get the thickest leather they got. Just get some of it, because it's going to make your life easier when it comes to testing your stamp, because it's going to leave the same kind of impression on a piece of leather that you're going to get on, say, copper or silver or whatever you're stamping. So keep that in mind. It's just a good way to be able to stamp it quick and kind of see where you're at, and you can keep dialing the stamp in from there. So this is just a jeweler saw. I use this for cutting all my silver that I use for silversmithing. So it takes a little while to get it started in these littler spots. So if you're not comfortable with it, then don't do it. If you want to try to put maybe like a little bit of, take your triangle file and make a little groove first, you can do that. So it takes a little while to get started, but once you get started, I just make little cuts, makes it kind of look like it's more feathered. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And I don't know what blade is even in there, because for me it doesn't matter. I use the thickest blade that I have on hand. But honestly, if you're just taking your time, even if it's a smaller blade, it won't break. But maybe you'll have smaller cuts, right? So just depends on what you want. And sometimes for me, the smaller cuts look just as good. So keep that in mind. Like I said, sometimes it does take a minute to get started. You just kind of got to take it slow. This is once you start adding these fine little details, this is when it does take a little bit longer, because you don't want to make the mistake. So just take the time. Don't make a cut in the wrong place. But then again, even if you do, don't freak out, because that's part of it, right? That's the uniqueness of making your own stamps and then stamping jewelry, because that stamp is unique to you now. There's not going to be another one like that unless you sell that specific stamp to somebody else. So just because maybe you make a cut in the wrong place doesn't necessarily mean that you messed it up. It just may not look like you were thinking in your mind, but it can still work. It'll just have that imperfection, and that's part of it. To me, that's part of it. For the kind of jewelry I make, there's going to be a certain level of imperfections, right? I'm not making jeweler grade style rings or settings or stuff like that. Maybe one day down the road, but not right now. And so here's basically the final stamp you're going to see there. And that's I like the way that looks, so that's where I'm leaving it. Because sometimes you can mess it up. And here I'm sanding the very face of it and just getting that flat and smooth, getting off as much of the file marks as I can get. And that literally is the process of making the stamp. Let me know what you think.